Lucy Jobson's The Journey Home is most commonly known as a heartwarming short film about two unlikely friends with unfortunate pasts. The film, only 8 minutes long, shows the story of Madeline, whose mother left her at a young age, and Gerald, who was previously convicted of the manslaughter of his wife. Taking place on a long bus journey home, the two are forced to sit with each other as the bus reaches full capacity, leading to what begins a rather awkward conversation, unwinding into a heartfelt connection and new friendship. The emotion-filled short film depicts the tale of Don't Judge a Book by its cover in a beautiful, comforting way. However, emotion isn't just shown in the story, but very much so visually. From set design, lighting, and the characters themselves, Jobson has used colour, time, diverse shots, and the characters' behaviours to make the story a work of art itself. This essay begins by discussing the use of set design in the short film and the reasoning behind Jobson's decisions. It then moves on to why colour is such an important variant and why it's used so particularly. Subsequently, it will describe the usage of camera angles and the reasoning behind the limited amounts of shots. Set design is a vital element in Jobson's work, as it is where she is most creative. Though it may be unnoticeable at first, once you spot the techniques, it's clear how thought through her process is. Beginning at the location of the piece, Jobson decided to film on an actual bus instead of a pop-up set. Her reasoning for this was she wanted to make it the most realistic it could be, capturing every imperfection and detail a bus could have. As well as this, she wanted to capture the movement. However, instead of using mechanical technology, she decided to again go down the more natural route, having the bus actually driving while filming. While this was an inconvenient technique, as well as challenging for the crew on board, it makes the scene real. The actors not knowing what movement the bus will make, bumps and leaning turns included, and of course traffic. Jobson decided to have the bus drive down an old aeroplane runway to create the movement and traffic stops we see on camera. And as strange as the idea sounds, it was extremely effective, especially regarding the time frame. Due to the length of the short film, the time frame of the piece may be lost in translation, yet time is one of the main characteristics that Jobson wanted to highlight. As sunlight was absent in the 8-minute short, Jobson decided to show time through a digital clock on the wall behind the two characters. Jobson, again taking the natural route, decided to use the real time of the clock. This again was a more complicated way to do things, as it meant the clock's time had to be cohesive with the shots, meaning the clock had to be reset accordingly depending on the scenes and reshoots. As the front shot was the only one where the clock can be seen, Jobson and her team spent around 2 hours shooting and reshooting all the shots seen, all the while having to keep this one little detail correct. A very particular choice that in the end was not as worth it as it seemed, due to the clock only being regarded as a prop in the background. Colour in this piece is most artistically used through the lighting, more specifically the bus's lighting. As Jobson was forming the decision of choosing a bus for the set, she also heavily considered how it would affect her choice for lighting. But instead of using classic softboxes and panels, she chose a more colourful option. Jobson used numerous different coloured neon lights that were installed into the bus by rig, replacing the dimmer versions that were already there. Doing this, she not only improved the lighting, while still keeping the feel of the bus the same, but allowed herself some creative freedom. The colours used were blue, warm yellow, pink and purple, each and every one used when a different emotion is felt by the characters, threading from one colour to the other in a seamless transition. Colour psychology has been a used technique for decades now. The belief that different colours create different emotions has been experimented in famous art pieces, photography, film and thousands more creative outlets. Jobson's dedication to highlight these radiant colours is further shown by the remaining colours in the scene. The bus without the lighting is grey, old navy blue seats littering the aisles and the bright red digits of the clock reminding us of its presence. The location of this lighting is also very beneficial to the feel of the scene, as it appears to only be reflecting on the two main characters' faces. Though you can see characters in the background, the light's not present, only relating the colour and the emotion to those certain characters. As for the characters' colour palette, Jobson was very particular on their wardrobes and how it can define their personality. Madeline is dressed in a light blue and pink sweater, these colours representing loyalty and compassion, two characteristics that line up with her character. And though people have argued that the blue can relate to sadness, perhaps from the abandonment of her mother, it's most believed to reflect her loyalty. As for Gerald, he is dressed in a faded purple t-shirt and a green jacket, representing wisdom and safety. Everyone else that can be seen in the shot are dressed in very dull hues, further pushing the point of attention to the two. However, colour theory is very up to interpretation. In terms of camera work for the piece, Jobson chose only 3 shots to compose the piece together: a front shot with heavy headroom, a back shot, and a close-up of their hands. All 3 shots have one main focus, our 2 characters. It never moves focus to outside or any other passengers on board. This decision is only really due to the fact that the characters are our only focus of the piece. Everything and everyone else is irrelevant. The front shot, filled with excess headroom, is believed to be used not only to keep the clock previously mentioned visible, but to make our 2 characters seem small and vulnerable. This is where the topic of conversation is highly effective in creating that feeling of vulnerability, and it's highly reflected upon the audience. The behind shot, however, is used to put in perspective what everyone else sees. They are just regular people, not special. Its use keeps us aware of that and grounds us to the topic that they, along with everyone else on the bus, are strangers, and that this meeting could have happened to anyone. Of course, it's obvious to watchers that the two form a clear connection, the journey turning them from strangers to close friends in only an hour's drive. And this connection is clearly shown through our characters' acting, through their behaviour before anything else. As seen in the beginning, the characters, mainly Madeline, was attempting to create space between them, leaning away and trying not to make direct eye contact. However, it's physically visible that as the film continues, the distance keeps getting smaller and smaller. Jobson's decision to do this was not only based on how it would make the conversation more effective, but she also wanted the piece to be effective without sound. She wanted viewers to see and understand the growing connection between the two without the conversation. This is also achieved through the characters' eye contact. Jobson used constant eye contact as a way to again separate them from other travellers. The eye contact is solely shared between the 2 characters, directly ahead of them or looking out the window, creating almost an air bubble around them that makes everyone else almost disappear from the scene completely. Jobson's work on the journey home may have been a complicated way to achieve her goals, and at times was not as effective as she had aimed it to be. However, her hard work to develop and share this heartwarming story was achieved from these particular decisions. From the realisticness of the set to the creativity of colour theory, and finally her ability to reflect emotion to the audience. Jobson manages to share her story of friendship and tragedy in a cohesive, albeit complicated way. The story's effectiveness and its meaning, however, is the reason it remains so memorable.